Hey everybody, Chris here. I'm just a dad who collects TCGs, and today I wanted to talk about the investability of One Piece. One Piece Romance Dawn has been out for over 2 years now, and I just kind of wanted to take a look at the data as somebody who collects or invests in Pokemon and certainly other products along the way. I figured now would be a good time to start to really look at that. One Piece has certainly grown in popularity. PSA just put out its report for most graded in 2024. One Piece surpassed Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And is now number two behind Pokemon as far as the amount of TCGs that are graded. Monkey and Nami were in the top 10 of characters graded as well. And so I think it certainly has all the hallmarks of standing the test of time, as it's been out for 2 years now. And the data is interesting. So we're going to look at this data together. And to give you a little background on myself, I'm just a dad who collected cards when I was young, grew up, got back into it about 2018, 2019, right before the big COVID surge. I was collecting sports cards, some Pokemon, started to collect more Pokemon, realized that if you held Pokemon, it just kind of went up. It did that through the boom. Learned my hard lessons, paid ridiculous amounts for Pokemon and sports cards and things like that. And then when prices came back down to earth, specifically on sports cards in 22 and 23, you learn your lessons, you lick your wounds, you move on. Try to take notes. Don't make those mistakes again. But I still, I've enjoyed it and I've stayed the course with Pokemon. I had a fair amount of Sword and Shield that I've started to sell off as those boxes have gone nuts the past few months here. I made the mistake during Sword and Shield and didn't buy every set. I haven't made that mistake this time, with the exception of Obsidian Flames. I just did not buy any Obsidian Flames. But Chilling Reign was my favorite from Sword and Shield. But when it comes to One Piece, I so a lot of that, my lessons led me up to One Piece here, where was involved with Flesh and Blood, bought Flesh and Blood early, loved the art, loved the gameplay, and just kind of I didn't like the ownership. I didn't like how they treated people, so kind of went by the wayside. Then MetaZoo came along, liked the art. I thought it was kind of cool. It was quirky. And then again, the owner, Mike, that luckily when the Kuromi's cryptid stuff came around and the big TCG banner was across the top, I recognized the fix was in with MetaZoo, and so I unloaded all my stuff, fire sold it all, and I was involved since early Kickstarter days. Then Sorcery came around, involved in the Kickstarter level there. And that's turned out to be very, very well. I think that TCG will probably stand the test of time just because of that old school feel. So there's a little bit of a background to me. I have made plenty of mistakes along the way that end in zeros. And One Piece comes around. I started buying boxes. So as we'll look, I wanted to leave this up here so we could give them credit. So thank you, Isaac. But if we go down here and we look right here, December 22. So that's when Romance Dawn came out. Now that 2 year mark is very significant for many, many reasons. Most TCGs don't make it past 2 years or 3 years. And if they're going to, you'll know whether they're going to make it or not around the 2 year mark. One Piece certainly seems stronger than ever. The player base is rabid, growing. It's not just domestic here in the United States. It also seems international. Very, very important. Again, we have season 2 on Netflix coming out here in 25. The anime is still going. It just seems like everything's going. PSA, they're in PSA headlines for second most graded TCG. And so I just think all the signs are there, all the hallmarks are there for the longevity of the TCG. I guess now the biggest determiner is, does it go by the wayside of Yu-Gi-Oh? Does it become just another card game that people don't really care about? Boxes come out at $100 and they go to $45, and that's where they die. $50. It's cool if you enjoy the game, but it's not cool if you enjoy the game and like buying and selling, collecting, etc. I mainly collect Monkey and Daffy cards, slabs. So I buy a lot, open, grade, do that whole deal. And I personally collect Monkey and Daffy. So I am going to be coming from the collector standpoint and the evil investor standpoint. But again, with that Pokemon background, feel as though I can kind of look at this with a different lens. A lot of the One Piece content I see, which is great, is all player based. They certainly look at value, but I'm not going to be the guy that talks about meta decks and what's popular and what won the most regional or the most recent tournament, online or offline tournament. That's not going to be me. I'm going to try and look at a lot of the data, the numbers, and kind of make my own assumptions based off of my track record and history and my experience. So as we jump in here, Romance Dawn, it's been out 2 years. So for those of you that don't know, but most of you probably do, we had white bottom and blue bottom boxes. So the white bottoms are going to be the second wave that you're going to see here on TCG Player, and they've trended up nicely. But if you go over here, the first printing was the blue bottoms. And so if we can get, so the difference, let's see if we can get somebody that has a good picture of all of the, so here we go. So there's the blue bottom, okay? So we have a blue bottom, and here on TCG Player, they explicitly say white. That white stands for white bottom. So as far as I know, there were only 2 different boxes, but I do believe there were 3 different printing waves of cards from Romance Dawn, which also leads into errata and post-errata, or pre-errata. Errata, it's still kind of a funny thing. I feel as though a lot of people are confused on errata, and they think errata cards are first print. They are not. Pre-errata, so when you see slabbed cards that say errata on them, those are the second print cards. Those are not first print. But I see prices, if you scroll through a lot of graded slabs, especially in this Romance Dawn era, you will see a lot of errata, or if they have no labeling on them. So PSA didn't do themselves any favors early on, because there are many second print post-errata, so they'll say errata on them, that don't have the errata labeling. They just have the regular labeling on them. So it's very, very confusing if you're trying to buy and you don't understand, pre and post errata. So, but TCG Player offers so if we just go in here, so this Monkey Leader card is a good one. So it will have, this card has officially been errated. Okay, so if you click on this, it will take you to a link which will then explain the errata, and typically the verbiage change on the card means up to. So they changed a lot of the verbiage on these cards, errata, so second printing on, they changed the verbiage on a lot of these cards to say up to. So if you see a card that says up to, that is not a first print card. That is a second print card. This is also a separate subject, but I don't believe the market properly values first print cards yet. You're starting to see, like this Nami, the first print Namis, these first print leaders. I'm working on a complete set of these first print leaders. I've got almost all of them except Zoro and Law right now. Just kind of put them on the back burner. Price is kind of stalled out, and so it wasn't in 10s. So I have all of them in 10s, first print, except Zoro and Law. But I don't think the market properly values first print, and this is another thing I'm going to look for in 2025. As these cards, these first print cards, get 2 to 3 years old, I want to see, is the market going to value them? There you can see on TCG Player, they've got their first print boxes at 1,000, which, if we look at the history, this is going to be right in line with eBay. I mean, eBay's right there too, so, and really a fair amount of sales. So they've basically been at $1,000, for this is incorrect. This graph is incorrect right here, because I believe they didn't divert. I don't believe they diverted these, created separate graphs. And so I don't believe this data is correct here, that first print boxes were all the way down to 270. I could be wrong on that. If somebody'd like to correct me, that's fine. But they did split this graph up. So if we go look over here, let's get out of some of this. If we look at this one, when did this graph start? Okay, so they are saying that this graph, so June 25th. So did this start in June 25th? Where was this big separator? So yeah, it looks right in here. So 265 to 315. So somewhere in here, this is where they split the charts up. I would suspect these first print boxes, because I don't ever remember these boxes coming down that far. I could be wrong. Again, somebody correct me. So I think the data's funky because of that. They split up the first and second wave boxes. And I remember there was a massive reprint wave of the white bottom boxes hitting around then. So, yes. Anyways, again, I don't believe the market really values the errata cards yet, or the pre-errata cards, the first print cards. So that's something I'm looking for in 2025. Is the market going to value first prints? They do in every other TCG, whether it's Pokemon, Magic, you name it. They value the first print cards to be more valuable than the reprints. So that's one of the things I'm going to be looking for here in 2025. All right, so as you can see, so we'll go back here. We'll look at Wave 2. These have appreciated nicely over the last 3 months. So again, we've hit 2 years. So they started, it looks like they bottomed around October. Again, we had the Black Friday sale on TCG Player. That's probably the spike right here. Yep. You can see November 25th, that was the Black Friday sale. We had a big spike in quantity, and then it's moved up nicely. So it's moved up 30% in the last 3 months, 20% in the last 6. But what I like seeing here on the monthly is the fact that this volume has increased as the price has increased. And if you can look over here, there's only 57 left as far as quantity listed, with 97 total sold in the last 30 days. So we've reached this point where it's no longer equilibrium. We've reached this point where there is no longer more being put on the market than's being purchased. And so I'm really, over the first quarter here into March, I would like to see these boxes probably move to 400 or 500. That will tell me, I know that sounds crazy, but we've got Pokemon going absolutely bonkers. This will bleed over, especially if crypto goes nuts. This will bleed over into every other space. So I expect these boxes, if there really is only 57 left and we don't get any more secret, gotcha backdoor reprints again, which there was just another wave of reprints, that would be something I'm looking for. I think these are just going to be slow and steady, and they're just going to keep trickling up, especially if the market wants and appreciates first prints. I think as the market continues to get educated, again, this TCG has been out 2 years. As the market continues to get educated, look for these boxes to increase. That would tell you that people are getting educated, bigger whales are getting into the market space, or newer, whether that's crypto money, Pokemon money, looking to pump other stuff. You can hate it or love it, that's fine. But I would look for these boxes to keep creeping up towards that $1,500 mark, certainly by the end of next year. Because that's that's a 50% appreciation, but they've gone up 80% in the last year. So I would look for them to sort of stabilize and just kind of steady Eddie here on out over the next 6 to 12 months. Again, that's if the market collector base is going to learn and respect first prints. So right now, and as you'll see as we go through here, what I think is happening with One Piece is I think it is primarily player driven right now. Because there's no free tendies. There's no money to be made buying and then flipping. Now, if you're getting at distro cost, where these boxes are $65 a piece, and then you're flipping into the market, at 125, or, Emperors just came out, and you can immediately offload, these were 150. I think I bought mine for my LGS for 140, 130. And so, yeah, you're going to take those free tendies. But again, those free tendies are only coming to people with distro access. Those are coming from LCSs. So you're not getting a ton of flippers and pumpers into One Piece right now. So what you're seeing in the market that you are seeing right now is player-based. It is not hype-driven. It's not, FOMO, all this stuff, ripping product off shelves. I mean, the product is getting ripped off shelves, but the demand is there. So that is one major thing that I do like about in regards to the investability of One Piece long term, is the desire's there. You hardly cannot find any One Piece on the shelves at any store. Walmart, and I have Myers in my region. It's the same with Pokemon. You're lucky to find any. So that is one thing. But the big caveat to this is that Bandai prints this. So again, I'm beating a dead horse. We've hit the 2-year mark with this. I do not want to see any more of this come to market. If more of this comes to market, I might wipe my hands and be out for good, because now we're past the 2-year window where any type of investability and tying your money up in this is kind of ludicrous, especially in an environment where you can buy Pokemon. I mean, even sorcery. Lorcana, kinda. Star Wars, meh. That kind of petered out. But there's a bunch of other markets that you can kind of look at. So players, if you are watching this, you should be happy, because this is not a ripe environment for flippers. Because, as I will show you, almost all of these boxes have done nothing but gone down post-release, which is something that Pokemon typically does. These have acted inverse to Pokemon, but I think... So here's the TLDR. I think when we get through this year, we approach 3 years for the first few sets here, the first 3 to 4 sets. I think we're going to see some of these boxes start to mature nicely. I think certainly as Pokemon continues to go, I think that will bleed over into other spaces. I think it's ignorant to completely ignore these other TCGs, primarily Pokemon, doing well. I think people are going to look for other areas, because this is what happened in 2020 and 21. Money bled over. Crypto also pumped in 2020, 21. And if crypto pumps in 2025, this money will bleed over into this TCG space. And people will get involved, and they will look to buy up these market shares. If somebody comes in and goes, holy cow, there's only 57 of these boxes, and, basically we control the market. So how many till we get to 300? It looks like about 10. Okay, and then we go to the next page. How many till we get to 400? Okay, so 16, maybe 20 boxes. So you could immediately make a 30% profit, now not minus fees and everything, if you outlaid 20, call it $6,000. That's not that much. So I am going to be watching this in particular a lot, just because of that time window. I do not want to see any more of this come to market. All right, enough rambling about Romance Dawn. Let's get past here. Paramount. Okay, so as we progress into these sets, one thing you will notice is almost all of the graphs look like this. Almost every single one of them. Again, Paramount has been out since March of 23. So I would like to see this as we approach March. I would certainly like to see this flatten out, which it looks like it's starting to bottom. Looks like it's kind of bottomed right there. Boom. So if we could start to see a little up the hill climb here over the next 3 months, that would be great. That would be another indicator to me that, okay, there's certainly not a ton of supply. Again, only 82 boxes. That's not much. That is not much at all at a half the price of the first set. So again, we don't want to see any of this come to market. And I haven't seen any more Paramount War out in the wild. I haven't seen it get dropped at any of the Hot Topics or Five Belows, or there was a big restock here this past week. I saw quite a few online shops get a bunch of Pillars, Kingdoms, and Awakening again, which was kind of surprising to me. I hadn't seen anything until I just literally see a pallet of cases of those 3 sets. But again, over the next 3 months, I want to look to see the supply dwindle, which it looks like it's doing nicely, and then continue to just kind of trickle up. This actually might be a good time to pick up Romance boxes, if you think that they are, because I actually didn't notice that it did that. I look at these about once a week or so, but as you can see, you go back, I mean, it definitely looks like it bottomed right there. So let's see if it could find a leg up, if some of these start to move. How many of these? I mean, there's volume there. People are buying them. 150, 150, 150, 140, 130. I mean, the volume is there. That won't take much for that box to go to 160. We don't trust those sellers. I mean, I say that jokingly, but... and I sell on TCG Player as well, full disclosure. I have around 1,000 sales. I have the nice little orange badge. So, I mean, we have 10 boxes. We have 10 boxes. And this is a $160 box. So it's at 145, basically 150 right now. So you take 10 boxes out, we're down to 70, and we're over 150. So this actually looks like a decent position if you wanted to take a position on Paramount. All right, Pillars. Again, same thing. Graph looks the exact same. And so one of these things Again, June 23. Okay, so as we approach 2 years in June, are we going to start to see this bottom out here over the next month? Which again, like I said, it just had another restock. I saw fresh cases sitting on pallets this weekend. So are we going to see this bottom out, and then are we going to see it tick back up? Currently, there's more quantity than sold in the last 30 days. What about, less 60, 90, and then 120, 180. So, I mean, it definitely looks, I would explain this uptick as far as more supply than has sold in the last 30 days to this newest restock. Because, again, I saw 3 cases from one shop, got 3 cases. So if that's the case, they got 36 boxes. I mean, that's enough to do it right there, let alone everybody else getting theirs. So, again, this is a good set. I should have looked at, this has the first set of wanteds here. I know my face is in the way, but this has the first set of wanted leaders, which we just had in 09 in Emperors. We had another wanted set. To me, I think these, from the collector standpoint, I think these are some of the more collectible cards just because these embody the anime, these embody the show, the wanted posters of the pirates. So I think these are such cool cards. I think the alt leaders as well are really cool. I have the Arlong in a 10, Iceberg, Zeph is in this set as well. I'm pretty sure Zeph is in this, right? And I thought he was. Yeah, there he is. But these cards look so beautiful in person, and that's one of the things, that most people, once they see the cards, they look beautiful, they grade well, good card stock. But again, as we approach June, for this, are we going to see what I think is going to happen, which is a flat line and then increase? So again, I'm a broken record with this. These boxes, and I sold my boxes back here. I actually sold them right as they increased in January, February from that case that I had held for about a year, a little over a year. I sold most of mine around 240 is where I sold my boxes because there was word of the reprint at the big show out in LA, I think it was, or Dallas, that the reprints were coming. And I was like, okay, here we go. Bandai all over again. So I just decided, I'm like, this is it. I'm selling. So I sold my boxes of Pillars as well as Kingdoms. So Kingdom, same thing. Price about the same. Graph looks the same. Volume is still good, though. Volume is still pretty steady. About 10 boxes today. I mean, really, 3, 10, 5. I really like Kingdoms. This was the first set that I really opened. I opened some of Pillars, but I opened a display case of these. I opened 3 or 4 boosters. I opened the display the double packs. I opened a bunch of display double packs because they were readily available. It was right before the hype, right before they got super popular and everybody started grabbing it. But again, I want to see, as we approach September, we get to September of 25. I want to see no more restocks. I want to see these flatline and start to go up. Just by the way, I seriously dislike the way they did this, the way they redid their website. But I want to see what these boxes did right here, which looks like they started to make the bowl, flatline out, come up a bit, stabilize, and then they should start to go up. So that's what I want to see out of these boxes. Awakening, again, I think Awakening is probably the best set that they have put out until Emperors. And even then, I still think it's probably better than Emperors. These boxes, anytime these boxes get below 150, I picked up my last bunch around 150, which would have been, when was that? Yeah, it was middle of the year. Yeah, it was middle of the year. It was late June, early July when I picked some up. Because they were around 150 shipped is when I picked up my last batch. But it just seems like these just keep getting dumped on the market. I mean, look at this amount sold in the last 3 months. Almost 2,000 boxes and there's a tenth of that percent of supply on the market. Again, I know a restock just hit though. I saw cases sitting on a pallet in an LGS, so I know there's more coming to market. But this set to me is the strongest set, just because you have 3 mangas and you have the Oda signature card. I think that's very, very big. So when you're ripping a box, you've got a chance to hit 4 cards that are over $580. Yeah. Oh, they pull out the good boxes. They only sell the bad. Oh, okay, that's fine. But still, long term, most people will not remember this. They will just look at this and they'll go, "Holy cow! Look what you can hit out of this." I mean, you're going to most likely get 1 SP per box. You'll get 1 alt. And typically the alt and or the leader, those are in the same slot. So I opened a couple of these boxes. I mean, this is still an amazing card. Gear 5 Gold Luffy. Looks amazing in person. I personally have bought and graded a bunch of these. These cards look amazing in person. So again, with these, I want to see the supply dwindle. But these are hard to gauge just because it's such a strong set. So the supply just gets gobbled up every time it comes out. Then we get to wings. Again, same thing here. I don't know why I believe there was a resupply of this as well that just hit. So again, broken record. We're just going to keep watching these though. 115. That's the other thing you'll notice. Almost all these boxes are between 115 and 170, and that's probably pretty healthy for the market for sets that have only been out, less than 2 years, a year or so. Again, I'm going to say and compare to Pokemon a lot just because that's what we have to compare to. Pokemon boxes typically don't do much for the first 2 years. Yeah, they bottomed out, and you could buy Pokemon boxes for $85-$90 in the bear market of 22. You could buy cases of Scarlet and Violet base, even then Paldea, and Obsidian Flames. You could buy cases for $500 to $550 virtually everywhere of 6 boxes. And so your cost per box was $85 to $90. One Piece has never really done that. The only set that's done that has been 2 Legends. But the rest of these boxes have not historically gone to $85 or $90 a box. And so I have heard some people talk about, oh, One Piece isn't investable because these boxes don't do anything, that blah, blah, blah. The first set's only been out for 2 years. And so as we continue to watch this market mature, again, all the telltale signs are there for investability and long-term viability. The player base is very strong. And I know the player base or the game piece army laments it, but investors are needed in these card games for the sustainability and longevity of your card game. If you do not have investors and people that buy and hold these cards, okay, what will happen long term to your card game is it will go to 0. It will go to Yu-Gi-Oh levels. Because if there are no investors, then most likely there's no incentive to rip your cards, open your cards, or if you're building a meta deck and then you have cards that you open from a box that you get that you don't want, and you go to sell those cards, if there are no evil investors and people that buy these to hold and or invest, those cards will be worthless. It's basic economics. And so the other thing that evil investors actually help do is they actually help retain some of the supply, so the supply doesn't get gobbled. Because I got news for you. If investors didn't exist on the market and they weren't buying these boxes at 115 and holding them for a year until they go to whatever, 185, 200, 250, somebody decides to offload these boxes, then the supply would just, for one, there's not much incentive for Bandai to print the card game in the first place because they're not going to sell as many boxes. Okay, so you want a certain percentage of these boxes to basically just be bought and sat on shelves. Because from a company perspective, they sold more boxes. Yay. They typically do not care about the secondary market. I know a lot of these companies, and Bandai appears to be watching the secondary market, but it is a happy marriage, game piece army, players, and investors. We kind of need everybody to make these markets and these card games sustainable long term. So that's probably a hot button with people, but I see it all the time on Twitter. Just game piece arm. These cards aren't worth it. Oh, these evil investors. Anytime a card goes up 20%, oh, it's these evil investors. Cards can go up. Cards get popular. I mean, let's oh, I closed it out already. I was going to look at the Gear 5 Luffy, that gold Gear 5 Luffy. That card has been everywhere from basically like $15 to it's just it's stair-stepped its way up. So let's actually go. Let's see if I can. Yeah. Nope. Here, let's just type this in. We'll find it quicker that way. Because this is a pretty good example. This Gear 5 Luffy. A gold card also, by the way, I might add. But you can look at this card. And, yeah, so it bottomed out. Okay, so I guess it never hit 15. I thought I remember this card coming down to about 20 bucks. Because I feel like I bought a bunch around the 2025. But I'm probably thinking of a different one. Either way, come all the way down. Again, if you don't have evil investors or people buying these cards go to nothing. You know, now I'm pretty sure he's popular right now. I've been seeing him in some deck builds, so I know that's carrying a lot of this. That's probably what a lot of this is right here. Certainly when you see a ton of volume like this, 51, 27, 20, you know, so you've got 100 of these sold here in like a 3-week period. But that's also Gear 5 Luffy, super popular version of Luffy. And I'm curious to see, as far as Pokemon goes, if gold cards are going to be popular long term, because they don't seem to be in Pokemon. But again, I think it takes all people. You know, you don't want just game pieces, because then you get Yu-Gi-Oh! Go play Yu-Gi-Oh! If you want game pieces. You can find all the 15-cent game pieces you want. All right. So, again, 06. It's been out, what? Yeah, 9 months. So, there's a couple cards from this set that are okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Megazoro. I like this Buggy SP. I collect Buggy also. These Nami SP treasure rares. They did it with Monkey here in the newest, or in Two Legends. Pretty sure. Yes. I like the treasure rares. I hope to keep doing them. It looks like they're going to keep doing them. Full disclosure, I have graded and sold probably close to 3 dozen of these. It's Nami Mommy, number 2 behind Monkey when it comes to graded popularity in One Piece. You know, waifu art never misses, right? Memorial. This is the outlier. This is the one outlier. And if you're going to make an argument to just buy it all and leave it sit on a shelf, this is the argument. Bottomed around 120, but it has 115, 110. I think I picked mine up. I think the sticker on my box is 115 or 120 when it first came out. The only thing that I can explain for this is they didn't print a lot of it. And as far as I know, I don't believe there has been reprints. Now, it does have the Laboon art. Let me move this over just a touch. There we go. It does have 2 Laboons. So it's got the alt, and then it's got the regular Laboon. It's got the Chopper manga, extremely popular character. That's the only reason, because the rest of these cards are very... You've got Chopper and Laboon. I don't know that really people care that much about the rest of these. I think Curie's being used in some decks, but, well, holy cow, that's crazy. See an SR at $25. So she's obviously being used in a deck right now. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, she's obviously being used and being played right now. To have an SR worth $27, because most SRs are $1. You know, most of these SRs, if you look at the rest of the SRs, you know, $1. There's a $5 SR, I guess. I guess a couple of these SRs are all right. Viola, $4. But yeah, typically SRs are going to be $1 to $5. They are definitely not going to be what Shirashosha is. Yeah, Shirashoshi's 25. That's crazy. But still, it doesn't account for why this box is $215. The only thing I can think, market gobbled it up. They didn't make a bunch of it. You know, it's got about the same amount left on the market as, and this is a way newer set compared to the first few sets. So the only thing I can think is this was an underprinted set. So I would expect reprints to come for this set, and if they do, these boxes go all the way back down to 125 or so. That might be a good time to pick it up. But yeah, I'm glad I learned something. I did not know that Shirashoshi was that much. This box has just remained flat. This has been, this and two Legends, these next two boxes have been the cheapest upon release. And I think this is where I would want the players to kind of chime in. But this set is actually a beautiful set. You have a BOA manga. You have a BOA parallel. You know, I like this Daffy as well. But I mean, the art in this set is amazing. You have another good monkey card. I don't understand why these boxes are so cheap. I really, really don't. This is one of these where there's a fair amount of supply on the market. See, this is where the but it's Bandai comes in. I would think, as we look at all these other sets that are basically 115 to 150-ish, $104, $105 would be a great place to pick these boxes up. Mine, yeah, I picked mine up for 110. I don't know. This is where the market really kind of, I just don't know. You know, with Pokemon, there were certainly sets that were just less popular. And that's what I'm kind of attributing a lot of this stuff to, is they're just less popular sets, less popular characters. But Bo is not a less popular character. You know, this Nami SP, I forgot this was in here. You know, I mean, that's the major chase. And then you have a BOA chase as well. So I don't understand why these boxes are just the way they are. The only thing I can think is, since this is such a player-based driven game right now, and investors aren't really involved, is these cards are not in rotation. These cards are not in meta decks right now. Maybe yellow is not popular. I know for a while yellow was super popular. That's the only thing I can think. Again, I'm ignorant when it comes to the gameplay. So, but at $100, $105, man, that's tempting. Two Legends, same thing. These boxes have done nothing. And when you look at the value that's in these boxes, you know, it's got the rally. No one seems to care. That's the cheapest manga, I'm pretty sure, on the market right now. But again, you know, it's got the Monkey Treasure Rare. It's got a Chopper Leader, Marco Leader, another Nami SP. Charlotte and Bonnie aren't as popular, I understand, but still, for these boxes to be at $70, I picked up a handful of these boxes at Black Friday for, I believe it was like $58 shipped. There is a ton on the market, a ton, a metric ton. This is the highest supply, I think, of any boxes on the market of any set. So what would I like to see? I would like to see over the next 6 months to a year, these boxes slowly get to like 100, even creep to like 110, and this supply get cut down to like 200 to 300 boxes, and no more come to market. That would be good if you're trying to buy these and hold these for an investment. You know, again, I had these at 58 shipped. I'm not really worried about it. I pulled the trigger just because I don't think they're going any lower. When you look at the investment side, I like to try and think, okay, how much can I lose here? Not how much can I make? How much can you make? That's the easy kind of, everybody, you know, has pipe dreams of how much you can make, but how much can we lose here? And at $58 shipped, I didn't think it was a whole lot. And again, my experience with MetaZoo, my experience with these other TCGs that have failed or just weren't going to do it, were not viable investments. The writings were on the wall before the ship, you know, ran ashore. So it's just been printed into the ground. There's a ton of supply available. And then you had the premium booster, and then Emperors come out right after it. So I think these boxes will probably sit cheap for a while. But if I were to pick a set that could double in the next year, it would be this. It would absolutely be the 2 Legends set. For these to be 150 next December, I would not be shocked. I absolutely would not be shocked. Especially if one of the next 2 sets in One Piece is kind of or they get a couple kind of sets. People are going to go back and look at this set and go, holy cow, like, it's got a Bonnie alt, Charlotte alt, it's got the Monkey SP, it's got the Chopper leader, Marco's popular too, Marco leader. I mean, it has decent cards in it. So, the Ace is kind of a mid-tier character that people collect, but mostly waifus, mostly mangas, mostly Monkey is what I have found. So these, like I said, if I was going to make a prediction, it would definitely be these to probably almost perform the best if you were to look at percentage gains over the next year, just because I think it's just been slammed in between a couple of sets here, and people were knowing that Premium Boosters and then Emperors was coming out. So Premium Booster, just look at this supply. Look at 2 Legends. Almost 3,000 boxes sold, 1,100 left. Premium Booster, 4,200 boxes sold, 129 left. So both having about the same amount of market, about 4,300 boxes, and one being basically 95% sold of the available boxes. So popular set, reprint set. So all of these are going to have, a special marking down here on the bottom of them, denoting that they are reprints. But then they also had the gold Don cards. So incredibly, incredibly popular. This is something they do in Japan with all these special Dons and everything. We've been getting them in our twin pack releases. And so probably won't reprint these. These are probably going to be the only way you can get these. I know there are some people going for complete sets of these. I've seen binder sets. A lot of people are just collecting, their type character Dons, or they're wanting to bling their out, go for max value. When they bling their decks out, I've seen some really cool decks, really expensive decks, but these cards look amazing in person as well. And as you can see, there is basically little to no supply of these on the market at all. There's more mangas available than these Don cards. That's how desired these Don cards are. Now, yes, these are reprint mangas, but still, they're very, very desirable. I don't know if they're going to reprint this. Again, we're kind of in the dark with this. So as far as investability goes, I don't know if they reprint them. Yeah, and it drives the price down. Yeah, it's probably a screaming buy, because these have shown. I mean, there's only 4 of these available right now, of the Daffy Dons. Three. Somebody just bought one. There's 3 available, because these are Japanese. These don't count. I mean, that's nuts. Sales volume's been pretty consistent, between $110 to $200. So, zero sell person. So that sale, so market price is $195. $195 for the Daffy Don. So that's pretty nuts. Those Dons are highly desirable. We get a reprint on this here in the next 6 months. That would be something to probably look for to move in, to take a position on, just because these cards are so desirable. And the one thing I'm realizing is there might be an arbitrage to open boxes. There certainly was, probably right there. That could have been part of it, because what'll happen is the card value, the EV, gets inverted when you open a box. The value of opening the cards. Now I think these are about one or two per case from what I'd seen, but with your, with the chance of hitting a manga also in that case. So if you're buying by the case, and then this card's brutal. I've bought so many of these cards that I've tried to grade. they all had printing issues on them. But again, that seems to be something that doesn't, I mean, Pokemon barely has figured that out as far as like grading and likelihood of getting a 10, etc. I don't expect One Piece to really get wise to that for a while. I mean, I'm talking years. But yeah, there is a ton of value in this set. A ton of value. You know, so if you pull one Gold Dawn, I mean, basically you're getting $50. I don't know if you average it all out. You know, you're probably on average going to get a $100 Dawn if you get one per case. And then you also have a chance to hit a manga. So we could have inverted EV here, which is what's going on as well. Because this set is pretty deep as far as value goes for these cards. So that could also be what's taking place here. If that is the case, we have an inverted EV where box value versus buying and just holding. I would expect to see a reprint of this. I can't imagine Bandai lets those free tendies just sit there like that. So that's something I'm going to be watching here in the next few months. And then the newest set, Emperors. Emperors, it's come out, had a big spike. Looks like it may be bottomed. We'll have to look to see. Yep, looks like it's starting to creep back up again. Pretty good set. This is a pretty good set. Again, we've got another set similar to 05 that has 4 mangas, 4 big chase cards. Again, you can... I'll move this over. Realize that side's been getting cut off. I like Buggy. But you've got wanted cards. So again, you've got a set of wanted cards, and you have 4 mangas. These boxes, I would expect a reprint, but these boxes should do very well over time if One Piece is investable. All these short prints, all these leaders. I mean, this is an amazing set. An amazing set. These wanted cards, I think, are going to be extremely popular. If you look at the amount of listings, there's not that many. 25. There's 45 a Teach, 30 a Buggy, yeah, 20 a Monkey. I mean, you know, this is comparable to the amount of mangas available. So, in the SPs, there's not that many SPs available of Dragon or Zoro. Alt Monkey, not that many available, 30. I mean, there's just... I like that Buggy leader. I like that. So, again, another super popular set, but just... it's too early to tell. These sets for the first 2 to 3 months, I mean, but it definitely looks like they've already bottomed, and they're going to kind of go. So, again, we seem to be getting around 4,000 boxes for these sets when they are released. And that's probably the biggest takeaway here, is that we're seeing around 4,000 boxes or so upon release. This looks like maybe they printed a little more, about 5,000, because people pre-sold cases. But that's an interesting take. So if we're getting, 5,000-ish boxes, it kind of gives us a baseline to move off of. And actually, just out of curiosity, let's go back to Paramount and Romance, and let's look and see, because I want to see how many boxes they've sold. Now, these sets are 2 years old, but the white bottoms will give us a better idea. I mean, just nowhere near the supply. But again, most of these boxes were out by June. As far as I understand, this was the last reprint. So, let's look at Paramount, and then let's wrap this up. A few more boxes of Paramount, 1,500. So it definitely appears as though they have probably doubled the printing of these boxes. Certainly these last few sets. I have to get those boxes available up around 4,500, maybe even 5,000 boxes, because we're not looking at cases or anything that have sold as well. I mean, there's just been tons and tons and tons. But as far as loose boxes available on the market, there appears to be between 4,000 and 5,000 for the last few sets. So overall, just my ramblings. I was going to close this out here and kind of look at, in regards to the investability, let's look at some popular monkey cards and what they've done, which is essentially nothing. So this was the first store championship given out in the first tournaments they were having in early 23. This was the first promo given out. And so not a ton of these. Most of them have been graded at this point that I have seen. But this card has gone all the way up to, as you can see, over $400 and come back down. And now we're sitting with that card at $235 with basically no sales, I don't think. Yeah, no sales in over a month. So as far as singles, you will notice a very, very stark pattern. Super pre-release monkey. Again, came out in the first starter deck. Card's 2 years old. I believe there was a reprint of super pre-releases in 23, but we've only seen 4 sales of this card. 3 near mints in the last month. There's 37 available on the market. Nobody wants them. The PSA promo card. Probably the most prominent monkey card just because it came in PSA magazines. I got mine. Mine was great. I sent it off. It got a 10. I bought another one at a card show. It got a 10. These were super high quality, but a very, very well-known card. And let's look at what they have done since release, which is basically go up but then come back down. So my conclusion with Sealed is we're going to watch Paramount, we're going to watch Romance, and as they get out of that 2-year window, it would appear as though those first 2 sets have bottomed and they're going to start to incline again. If that continues for the next 3 to 6 months, that will be very encouraging to me to move forward. The singles do not appear to be. And that's one thing that is very weird to me. Because even if you look at now these are all promos, but if you look at the cards from the sets, those cards haven't really appreciated and most have decreased. They've come down since their spikes and they haven't gotten back to those highs yet. And so the singles, whereas in Pokemon, a lot of those singles, they do the same thing. They spike, they come back down, but then long term, they just kind of ladder up. These cards don't appear to be doing that. And so the singles market, I am very, very unsure of. Very, very uncertain. I collect and have these cards in PSA 10s. And so, yeah, of course I want these cards to do well. But I don't know that singles are investable in One Piece. But I think it's because it is a primarily player-driven market. And once these cards go out of rotation or they're no longer used, and these promo cards, these winter cards in particular, they have very little playability for the most part. There are some that come out that are playable or people want to bling their decks out. But even super low pop cards, there's 25 of these. There's 37 of these available. And only 5 have sold in the last 3 months. Near mint. I mean, that's crazy to me because this is literally one of the first cards, if not the first card from the series. And so, I don't know. It's very hard for me to tell. This is kind of me just rambling. But these are the thoughts that have gone on in my head for many, many months. Again, I hold some One Piece sealed. I sold most of it off. I've held some and then bought more because Bandai makes me nervous. But the big thing is approaching this 2-year mark of the first set. It does appear as though if Bandai doesn't reprint these boxes, they will start to appreciate. And then those returns are going to be very, very interesting over this next coming year to see those boxes approach 3 years old. That will be the telltale sign. And I don't know if it'll be too late at that point or if people will start to get wise to it. Don't know. So anyways, thank you. Appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe. I'll be adding more. Thanks.